Well, my last bowl I made was so popular it found a home within minutes that I thought I'd try making another one, but I'm going to use a different method. I am still going to use this mold to make it because that worked really well. This time I'm going to be using the Easy Coat resin to make the bowl, but the actual decoration for the bowl I'm going to be using the 4-hour demold because it is a lovely thick resin. What I'm going to try and do is make myself lots of different cabochons here on this silicone mat ready to put in that bowl. So I need it a thick resin because that way it'll allow me to keep the resin in one place while it's curing. And I'm going to make all different types of patterns and then choose the ones I like the best once they're all cured. And they're really easy to make and I'll show you how to make them. So I'm going to use a mixture of opaque pigments, transparent pigments, some glitter to use when I make the cabochons. So first thing to do is mix up my resin. I'm going to be using the 1:1 4-hour demold. It won't take long to cure, but also it will stay where I want it. So I've got all my resin mixed up and I've poured some in my little pots. What I'm going to do is put some translucent white, not too much, into my main pot of resin. Because if not, any patterns that you have in it will just disappear if your resin is completely clear. So the patterns will show up, but the actual cabochon itself won't show up at all in your resin because clear resin in clear resin just goes clear. I'm not sure if any of that makes any sense whatsoever. I think I'm just talking rubbish. Just a little bit more. I want it to be like almost cloudy but still allow some light to go through. Yeah, that should hopefully be enough. I'm not too worried if there's any bubbles in it either because bubbles will just give it a little bit more. It will refract the light a little bit more, which I think will look nice. I'm popping in my, now these are opaque pigments and I'm also using microfine glitter as well. And now all I've got to do is give those a good mix in. Now they're all mixed in, what I'm going to do is leave this for about 10 minutes and allow it to hopefully thicken up a little bit more, ready for pouring into the cabochon. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to make sure my mat is nice and clean because if not, these cabochons are going to just pick up anything that's on this mat. Now I don't mind if these aren't all uniform in size. In fact, I don't want them uniform in size and shape. I want to try and do some different sizes and shapes. So I think this is ready now. What I'm going to do is start pouring on here. And all I'm doing, like as you can see, is pouring little dots like that. And like I said, this is a thicker resin, so it's not going to run too much, but it is still going to level out a little bit. So I'm doing different sizes and you can see that it's slightly opaque. I'm not sure if the camera's picking that up. I can definitely see the difference. So you will see the difference once it's put into a bowl. And now I can put my colours into it. So these ones I can do all very similar. Then I can do different patterns on the next ones. And again, because this is a thickish resin, these aren't going to blend in too much to each other and make a muddy mess. Big thank you to everyone that got me a coffee last month. Your names are coming up now on my coffee board. I had some wonderful messages left me as well. So please, if you buy me a coffee, leave me a little message. I love reading them. It makes my day. So now I've got my first colour in. All I need to do now is put my other colours in. And I'm not using too much because I don't want to overpower it. And this is the glitter, silver glitter I'm just popping in the middle here. I'm using a bit of orange, a bit of red, and some yellow. And then a little bit of white as well. Now you can leave your patterns like that, but I'm not going to. I'm going to go in there and give them a bit of a swirl. Now they've all had a swirl, what I'm going to do is quickly go over them with a long neck lighter and burst any bubbles that have come up to the top. And now I can carry on, do a lot more in different patterns or the same pattern, and then I will leave them to cure fully on the mat. Well, these are all lovely and cured now, and I can take them up, and some of them are joined up together, but I've got no problem with that, because what I'm going to do is go round these anyway, and give them a bit of a trim and get them into a shape that I like. There we go. And they are quite transparent. They're not clear, but they're transparent, and that's because we used the white first. The other thing is I'm not sure about at this stage is whether as the resin is curing it that I put over the top, whether these will warm up enough to bend into shape, but we'll soon find that out. Some of them are really, really pretty. All of them, I mean, you don't have to do this bit if you don't want to, but I want to go around and give them a bit of a shape. Take off the frilly edges. So I'll go ahead, I'll finish those off, and then I will show you what I'm going to do next. So I've cut those all to the shapes that I want, and I've popped them in. I've popped them in shiny side down, but that obviously isn't how I'm going to finish them off. I just want to make sure that they all fit in there, because I want to put a layer of resin in here and then pop these in afterwards. So I had no specific pattern in mind at that point. So I'm quickly mix my resin up, and this is a 2-to-1 resin. It mixes up really, really easily, and it cures nice and quickly. But once it's cured and in shape, it is rock solid. And that's what I love about this. It has a really superior hardness to it. So I'm going to mix this up, 2-to-1, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do next. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour this on my board so I can move this over somewhere else while it's curing, and I can carry on working. And all I'm going to do is pour my resin in here to start with. I am the clumsiest person ever walked the face of this earth. So now I've got resin all over the bowl. This is the large mixing bowl from my resin kit. If you want to get hold of it, I think they're back in stock again now. Now, we don't want to fill this right up because we want this to be quite thin to allow us to be able to bend it and do all the other bits and pieces that we want to do to shape it into a bowl. So really, it's only about 2 mils thick there, maybe 3. Make sure the resin's all the way up to the edges, and we can release any bubbles that have got caught in the corners. Because this is a coating resin, it's actually designed to be on here as thin as this, and it will cure up lovely, very glossy, and also really, really hard. So now I'm ready to put my bits in, and I am going to do them face down. And all I'm going to do is push them in and give them a bit of a wiggle. Now, it is going to trap some air, and I'm fine with that. I think for certain things, the little micro bubbles and that can look nice. I want a bit of a gap around each piece, so I'm pushing them down and then allowing the resin to come over the top of it. So I'm going to carry on popping those in, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do next. So these are all in now, and they're ready to let this cure up. I'm going to give it about 20 minutes, and then I'm going to quickly go over it like this with a long neck lighter. I'll let this cure for about 3 hours, and then I'll check it because I want it to be at that pliable stage before I mold it into a bowl. I left it for about an hour and a half longer than I intended to, but I had to go off and do something because Mum's just had her last eye cataract operation done, so I needed to sort poor Mum out. And then I kind of forgot about this, so it may be a little bit firmer than what I think. No, it's still a little bit softer. What I must do is spray this with mold release first. That makes it life so much easier. I forgot to do that last time. Then this isn't very sticky at all because, like I said, I did leave it in there. Now, what I can do is to help this along a little bit is to heat this up. There we go. So I've managed to heat that up and get that in there. And that's not going to stick to anything now because I've put the mold release in there, but I want to make sure it stays down really well and doesn't just ping back up, and I will be able to get that out ever so easily. So I'm going to put my coaster in there like that, which is silicone, and then put a heavy bottle on there, and that'll keep that held down. And I'm going to let that cure up overnight now so it goes lovely and hard. Well, this should all be cured now, and it's sat in there really well. Oh, look at that. How easy is that to come out there once you remember to spray it? I think that has come out beautiful. I love that. And we've got some ripples around it because I didn't put the folds in it like I did before. Because it was still soft around the edges, I pushed it in, and I really like those ripples. I think it gives it a great effect. Wonderful bowl. Simple, easy technique to use and to make. Don't forget, these bowls are not suitable for food stuff. Resin, food, safe, blah, blah, blah. I've done a whole video on that. Check it out. I'll link it at the end of this one as well. So you know why not to use foodstuffs with resin. There are lots of things that you could put in these as decorations. I made these little string balls a while back on my other channel, and they're ever so easy to make, and if you want to know how to make them, check out my other channel. But I think that's come out great. Check out the video I've got coming up next on the dangers of using resin. It's really important to know this stuff if you're going to be using resin. Boot that like button, hit that subscribe button, but most of all, enjoy your resin. Take care. Bye.